Once upon a time, in a small town, there lived a notorious serial killer known as the Night Stalker. No one knew his real identity, as he always wore a black hood over his head and struck in the dead of night, leaving behind a trail of terror and death. The Night Stalker's MO was simple yet brutal. He would break into homes while the occupants slept and murder them in their beds, never leaving behind a single clue. The police were at a loss, and the town lived in fear, wondering who would be the next victim. One night, a young detective named John was assigned to the case. He was determined to catch the Night Stalker and bring him to justice. John pored over the evidence, interviewing witnesses, and speaking to the families of the victims. He quickly realized that the Night Stalker was not your typical serial killer, as he seemed to have a personal vendetta against each of his victims. John worked tirelessly, following every lead and clue, and finally, he got his break. A witness had seen the Night Stalker fleeing from one of the crime scenes, and John was able to match the footprints to a pair of shoes that were sold at a local store. He staked out the store and finally, one night, he saw the Night Stalker making a purchase. John followed him back to his hideout, and after a long and intense standoff, he was finally able to apprehend him. The Night Stalker was brought to trial, and the evidence against him was overwhelming. However, John's work was not done. He became obsessed with understanding the mind of the Night Stalker and the motivations behind his killing spree. He spent countless hours talking to him in prison, and after months of therapy and analysis, he finally understood the root of the Night Stalker's anger and madness. John wrote a book about his experience, and it quickly became a bestseller. He went on to become one of the most respected criminal psychologists in the country, helping to bring closure to the families of victims and understanding to those who were struggling with their own demons. The Night Stalker's reign of terror was finally over, and the town was able to sleep peacefully once again, thanks to the dedication and hard work of Detective John.